How do we know what ancient Egyptian sounds like? Does the clues that were given actually end up giving us a proper path of the language? Or is it forever hidden in the shadows? Will no one ever climb the mountain and figure out what is at the top? Well, we do know what the other languages sound like that are related to the ancient Egyptian language. But here's a problem. They don't sound like each other. For example, let's compare the word for bone in three Afro-Asiatic languages. So in ancient Egyptian, it's claimed to be,
Kiss, kiss.
while in Hausa it's, and then in Berber it's Ekash Okus. Now here's the problem. In different Berber languages, there's several translations or several ways to pronounce the word, like with an X sound, like shas instead of gash. And in obviously in Hausa it's gashi. So the problem now is is the ancient Egyptian word that is QS, because you got the consonants, not the vowels, is it gis or gus or gus? And is it gussi, or is it without the that part? Now remember, if you get this part wrong, you could be getting, it's like setting up the wrong foundation. If you get the alphabets wrong and the pronunciations wrong early, you might be messing it up at the top level. So for example, if you take words, very simple words in English and compare them to the Dutch equivalent, right? They can veer off a lot. So for example, D meaning the, right? You could completely screw it up by thinking that the word die is the same as the word D, right? But luckily, context will make you know that that's not the right word. So the and D don't look the same, but they are the same. And then the other word, dar, meaning there, and there are the same. But if you make the mistake of thinking that dar is said with there because there is said with there, you're gonna get to this mistake part where it's gonna matter in the future, where you start to use patterns to try and say, okay, so this word must be said like this word must be said like that, because of patterns. Clearly here the pattern is that the word gis for bone is the same as the word gashi or gas or shas or usu or goose. And so, again, how do you know how it's pronounced? It would be better if all the languages just agreed, but they do not. Take this boy king's name, for example, Tutankhamun. So, is it Tutankhamun? Well, some experts would say it's Tutankhamun, right? Because that KH sound there would be like that. But we know that you don't always hit that sound quite as hard. You don't have to do Tutankhamun in even Arabic. So if we take an equivalent name in Arabic,
Khaled with an E instead of an I. Sometimes the H is not there as well, but how do you go about pronouncing it? Khalid, Khalid.
um, this word, the way most people say it is Khalid, right? Which is not how you say it. You can say Khalid, right? You can say Khalid, right? You can say Khalid, like more with the H sound. You can say Khalid, right? In a more softer way, Khalid, where you hit the K and the H, but it's not a sound. So if we take it back to Tutankhamun, is it Tutankhamun? Is it Tutankhamun? Tutankhamun? Tutankhamun or is it Tutankhamun? Like, how hard would you hit that word? Given that the word Ankh is the word, I would assume that it's not Tutankhamun. I would assume it's Tutankhamun. It's Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun. Well, that's that, right? Well, there's a problem because some sounds, when they're in the beginning, they're said softer than if they're in the middle of a word. Like, for example, you could say the word gar, right? And then in the middle of a sentence, you say amgar. So amgar means senior or older in Berber languages. Amgar meaning, so say Baba Amcha, you mean grandfather. So would this be similar to that where because it's in the middle you have to hit the word very hard? Or does it not matter that the word is unk in the middle?
Kumat.
Let's take another K sound, which a lot of people do not assume that it's a sound. The ancient Egyptian word for Egypt.
The ancient Egyptian language. Ra ni Kumat.
Now, the Coptic word for Kumat or Kum is Kem or Kam. So we know that this word has changed over the years since it's Kumat. But if we look at other languages, now we don't know if this word is actually related, but Baka is black for the Hausa. And there's Aberkan in Tamazight. So we have these two words, Baka and Aberkan, meaning black, but I feel like these words are not related at all. Now, obviously, certain words we don't know if they're really related or not, but again, how will you know how the pronunciation is only basing it on the modern words, especially since they've changed so much? So again, you have to pattern them with other words. So how are vowels usually used in this context and stuff like that? Especially with the long air sound. So something like km would probably be something like kum, and that's fine for that word, but is that a guarantee? Probably not. It might be kam or kem or something like that, but so far the educated guess is kumat.